Hey guys, welcome to the Covenant Keeper podcast. I'm Brent, as always, with my beautiful wife, Miss Lucy.
Hi, guys.
We're so excited to have you back with us today, guys. It's been a pretty exciting week since we last saw you. Just a few days ago, we saw the Prayer 2020 March in Washington. Wow.
Yeah, it was like the Prayer March 2020 and then the return or something?
Yeah, Return was an event that they also had there at the marketplace there. I don't know how many people were there. We've heard all kinds of different numbers, but there was quite a few people that were gathered in this one place praying for our nation, to turn our nation back towards God.
It was really awesome. I remember at one point they were praying and asking everybody to engage, whether you were out there or at home, to engage in this prayer. And I remember literally feeling chills all over during this prayer. I thought it was super powerful. So it was really awesome.
It was huge. It was huge. So, now we watched it at home here on our platform, which we use Facebook to watch Facebook Live, which is good. And I think that's a good tool, right, to catch up with some stuff and to see some stuff. But what was funny was the day before we were watching this special on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. So go ahead and give us a backdrop on what the movie was, babe.
It was a documentary on, I guess, the effects of social media and what it's done to individuals based on perspectives of some of these kind of bigwigs at some of these social media companies, like, big ones like Facebook and Instagram, Pinterest. Like, it's some people that they were instrumental in the foundation of all these platforms. They have since left these social media companies and started their own deal. But basically they were talking about how what they once upon a time designed and created for good has turned, I guess, kind of upside down, and now is causing bad things to happen with individuals, essentially.
Well, those bad things they're talking about addiction to social media.
Well, the effects of what the addiction to social media, what it does to families, especially to young kids. So they were talking a lot about that, and they talked about mental health illness and suicide rates in young kids, but also how. And this, we always talked about this, like how, and I know a lot of people know what I'm talking about when I say how creepy it is that your phone is sitting there and you're having a discussion about, I don't know, something you want to buy, like some specific product, and all of a sudden you open your phone and here pops the advertisement on like the product that you're talking about through different stores or whatever. And you're like, that is so creepy. At once upon a time, it was like, oh, that's so creepy. But now we know.
Yeah.
We know that there's people behind the curtain.
Well, computers.
They're hearing you and they're nudging you, essentially, and getting paid for it. By the way, guys, all of us engaging in social media platforms, the level of engagement that each individual has determines like how much money these folks are making on the backside.
Yeah, the longer you stay on your device, the longer you stay on social media, the more money they make on the backside. So literally, the time you're investing is where their dollars come from. Is that in a nutshell? Now, they do touch on the dynamics of how it is affecting individuals and how it's affecting the family, and that's where we come in.
But it's funny because you just said, the time that you're investing is how they're making money. Remember that whole saying that people, time is money?
Yes.
Well, in this case, is your time
is their money. Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. They just kind of hit me.
Hey, man, if the Spirit's leading you, go with it. But what catches our attention, as always, here at Covenant Keeper is how are things affecting the family unit? Because we know that if the family unit breaks down, it affects the world.
Well, the family unit, the marriage breaks down, it affects the family, which affects the community they live in, which affects essentially society.
Right. Society as a whole.
Yeah.
So looking at some of the adverse effects that social media is having on the family unit. Now, we've talked about this in other podcasts, but this one particularly caught our attention Nothing that we haven't heard before, because we studied this in psychology and we're looking at as far as how things were affecting the human mind and the development of the mind, which, i.e., turns to how we relate to people
Mm.
and how we relate to ourselves. So, looking at some of the statistics that we were looking at, one thing that caught my mind as I was reading through this for the podcast, it says, and this is from a statistic that came from compare.com on social media. And it's talking, it says, on average, a person spends 2.5 hours per day on social media. That amounts to more than 5 years of his or her life. Now, I want you guys to think about this. This is just specifically talking about social media. This is not total time on a device. So 2.5 hours a day, on average.
Is that a recent study? Because I don't believe that 2.5 hours at all.
Only on social media. I'm not talking about phone calls. I'm not talking about texting. I'm not even talking about.
I can name a handful of people right now at the top of my head that are on social media way longer than 2.5 hours a day.
So they would be a little above average.
A little bit.
But what's crazy is, as we have come to learn, that most doctors recommend a maximum, now hear this, a maximum of 2 hours a day on a screen.
Well, that was the pediatricians when we take our kids to the doctor. Usually,
well, one of them, but we also saw this backed up in other research.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's for the development for the human mind. Okay.
For the proper development, yeah.
For proper development of the human mind, maximum 2 hours a day for screen time. Again, because of all the overstimulation and what it does to the human brain. Now, here, 2.5 hours strictly on social media. That's not counting television. That's not counting gaming systems. And we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So, again, how this affects the family unit. Now, in the special we watched, we saw some pretty, how do you want to say, kind of knock you back in your seat on kind of how they portrayed some of this. Like the one part where the little girl, okay, long story short, the family's sitting at the table. The mom says, hey.
Well, there's a family that they're portraying in between these, in the documentary, these people that are speaking about, their part in the creation of the elements they're talking about in their social media platforms. They have this family that it has almost like a little movie that they have in between these people speaking.
It's a vignette.
And they have like a young kid that she's a young girl, maybe 12, 13 years old. There's a teenage boy.
15, 16.
And probably an older
17,
teenage girl,
18, yep.
because they go to school together, the teenage boy and the older girl. And then mom and dad. And then they're showing basically the level of engagement in social media with some of these members of the family and what it's doing to the family, essentially.
Well, they look on it and they see like, hey, we're having dinner as a family, which is awesome, right? Dinner as a family, but no one is engaging at the table. Everybody is on their device. Well, mom looks up and goes, okay.
Well, spoiler alert, everyone, if you're going to watch this, I mean, it's not like it's a movie, but he's about to talk about, specific.
Go watch it. I recommend everybody watches it. If you still have Netflix and you haven't canceled it because of the whole Q thing, go watch Social Dilemma on Netflix. So, mom's sitting around. She notices all this going on. So she has this idea that, hey, I'm going to take all the social devices or all the electronics off the table, and I'm going to lock them in this little timer safe until after dinner. Like, give us an hour free of connect time with our family. So she gets everybody to give their devices, not willingly, but they all give their devices, and they lock them up in this case. So they sit down and they try to have dinner. Well, nobody is interacting at all. Everybody's got like this downcast face and, what are we going to do now? I'm so bored. Wow, this is miserable.
Well, then they start hearing the little dings from the phone in the container.
Oh, yes, the notifications start going off on the phones.
So essentially what happens in that scenario, mom's desperately trying to connect the family back together without devices, and the younger girl, teenage girl, like gets up, she has to get something, and she goes over to look at the phone and eventually busts the container open because she just has to get to her phone.
Yeah, literally busted open.
Yeah, breaks it open and then runs upstairs with her phone, and dinner is completely, but that's it.
Yeah,
dinner's over without it even being started.
So in essence, like how much these devices and social media has control over us, right? And the addictive aspects of it, right? And a lot of times we don't recognize this has happened. It's become part of our nature. It's become part of our society. Where, like for me and us, I don't go anywhere without my phone. Well, picture my wife. Check it out. I don't go anywhere without my phone. It's literally a mini computer that I keep in my pocket. Do I have social media on it? Yes, I do. I've got my emails. I've got other things on there, other apps and stuff that I use. I use for work. I use for entertainment. But it goes everywhere with me. But it does have a big role in my life. And as we're watching this, it begs the question for all of us, are we showing addictive symptoms when it comes to the devices and social media?
Well, it's interesting because some of these individuals speaking on this documentary that were so instrumental, right, in Facebook or at Instagram, Pinterest, wherever they came from, where some of them have literally removed social media from their phones. Like they won't even give a device to their kids.
And that's what, again, like, whoa, big red flag goes off. The people that develop these things won't even let their kids on these things.
Yeah, like that was like, whoa. And then they're giving statistics about suicide rates amongst young people, mental health issues amongst young people. It literally what like everybody should watch.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know for me, like I talk to people in the family like, hey, you know, how long are your kids engaging in social media? And sometimes the adult, you can't even get the adult to focus on you because they're too busy on their device. It's like, oh my gosh, where are our relationships headed to?
Well, and that's the thing, like, and I always tell people, like, go to a restaurant, sit down and just scan the room and look around and look how much real interaction is happening with people. How many where the phones are down, out of the way, and people are just sitting and engaging with each other without any devices, without any distractions. If you find one now, it's very few and far in between.
Yeah, that's the rarity now. And it's usually, it's usually older, the older generation. It's usually older people that are sitting and actually having conversations and laughing and engaging without a phone.
Well, let me give you some more of these statistics that I got. And this is U.S. residents admitting to social media addiction. Now, this was in 2019, which was last year, the latest one they had. And again, this is by comparecamp.com. It says age ranges 55 to 64 is 22% admit to being addicted. 39 to 54 years old is 35%. 23 to 38 years old, 52%. And 18 to 22 is 45%. So you can see that the younger generation, if you will, is seeing more of the effects. But it is affecting the older generation now also.
Right.
Like for myself, I'm in that 35% where I can tell you that notifications, my phone going off and this and that, there's some addictive things that I've noticed myself. Like we've had the conversation, hey, take your phone and put it away for a day. Are you crazy? Like, why would I do that? Like, I will miss out on everything that I use it for. Work, all the other stuff, the posts that I do for the ministry, all the stuff that I'm doing. If I were to put that away for a day, I don't know what would happen. Everything would possibly fall apart.
Well, it's funny that you say that, that you think you have that much power. I think is funny. And I think I say that for a lot of us, that we think we wield that much power. Because if we're believers and we believe God is in control, He's the one that's driving our ministries where He wants them to go. He is the one that's bringing the business to us that He wants us to have. If we're believers and we trust God, right, and we're believing and having faith in God, and we pray for our ministries, our business, our finances, are we truly trusting God, or are we still thinking that we're in control?
And there lies the distraction that we all fall into. The same thing, and we always bring it back to the Garden of Adam and Eve. In the garden, in paradise, everything they needed, God was in His position, but they still had that sense of doubt. Right? They still wanted to be like God. They still wanted to have that sense of control of the situation. Even when God says, hey, it's not good, or gave a command, don't do this, they still made the choice to do that. And even to this day, we still have to take these things, even when it comes under the guidelines of social media, Is this what God would have for me? Now I get it. And you pick up the Bible. Obviously, you're not going to find cell phone in the Bible as far as not written out, hey, thou shalt not use your cell phone, or, social media, only do this.
Right.
But there's clear biblical principles, even within the Bible, to help manage what we're dealing with in today's time.
Stewardship of our relationships is really what I see. It's how are we stewarding our relationships? Because you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It's a trade-off. Like you're trading off time, right? We said your time means money for these people, right? Your time means money for these people, but what is it costing you as far as your family relationships,
And
right?
that-
Your time with your kids, time with your spouse, like you're literally being robbed of that time that you're supposed to be investing in your family, which is what God would call us to do.
Well, think about it. If I'm spending on average 2.5 hours in social media, how much time am I spending reading God's word? How much time am I in prayer? How much time do I spend connecting with my spouse? How much time do I spend with my family? What's the Bible say about time? Time is fleeting. Your life is like a vapor.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is not promised to you.
Yep.
This is what the biblical side of things are saying. In essence, he's saying, what you have today and the time that I've given you today is a gift. Do it. Honor me. Honor the people that I put around you. Love me. Love others.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people take that for granted. They think we'll be here tomorrow. We still have time.
Mm-hmm.
We still have time. And that's the thing. How much time do you really have? Do you think that you wield that much power to know that you will be here tonight, tomorrow morning? Are you going to wake up? You don't know that. So what are you trading your time off for right now? Pretty much just step back and look at your family relationships. How's it all working for you? Your marriage good? Like, is it awesome? Are you guys still loving each other, spending time with each other? How are your relationships with your kids? Is it awesome? Couldn't get any better? Like you guys are firing on all cylinders as a family? You guys have family time together? Like if all that is happening while you're doing all your social media engagements and all that time on your device, man, awesome for you. God bless you. But we know the truth. And we know that if you're spending, 5 to 7 hours, 8 hours, like some people are on social media, you're not engaging at that level with your family members.
Well, even if you think you are, it's been proven you're not giving your best.
Well, I mean, you know what's proving it is everything we're seeing in the world today. That proves that people are not spending time building the family up, building that foundation up. They have allowed social media to steal that time from them because that's what's guiding them into going out into the streets and losing their ever-loving minds toward each other. It's social media, and this is essentially what the documentary is about, the division that it's caused.
Well, it will. I mean, and because, hey, guys, let's not fool ourselves. Everyone is being led by something or someone. Let me say it again. Everyone is being led by something or someone. What's leading you? Because I'm telling you, I can tell when I don't spend time in God's word and I don't pray and I don't seek him out in every decision that I make. That means I'm putting something else in his spot. What if it's social media and what it's feeding me, what it's telling me, what I start to believe?
Well, and that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It's how they're leading you. The people behind the curtain, the ones that see that you disengage from their social media platform and they're nudging you with a little notification to reel you back in. That's essentially how they get people re-engaged again.
Yeah.
They send out a little notification saying, hey, so-and-so wants to engage with you. So-and-so just liked something that you liked, and you want to know who liked what, and then you're back on.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially what they're talking about, how you are literally being manipulated by somebody else. And it's funny, they have this little graphic that they use that I really like that they use it because that's essentially what's happening. It's like the hands that created these social media platforms, they lift them up in the air and there's like these little strings that are essentially like they're the puppet master.
They're manipulating people's ideas and decisions.
Right.
And everything. So looking at, and again, technology and social media, right?
Mhm.
Technology and social media, it can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Don't let us think that it's all bad, like it's the devil, throw it and get far apart. It's not what we're saying. But we are helping you, or hoping you guys can be aware of the threats that are there. Just like a gun,
Right.
right? When it's used as it's meant to be designed for, it's a great thing. It's there to protect you. It can guard you. But if you use it in the wrong way, it's very harmful and it can kill you. So some of the things, other numbers, I was going to read some of these out to you. 8th graders who use social media heavily are 27% more prone to depression. 8th graders who use social media heavily are 27% more prone to depression. Heavy use of social media can lead to lower self-esteem. 55% of U.S. drivers admit to checking social media while on their phones while driving.
But we see that all the time. That's the person I'm getting frustrated at.
So the person you're driving down the road and they're like, guy, move, and you get up beside them and their face is planted in their phone.
Ugh.
Literally, as you're driving down the road, going, well, no wonder you're driving like a crazy.
You know what? You know what I think it is? Also, I think it's people know that social media and technology is not going away. That's not, and guys, like we're realists. We know it's not going away.
Right.
That technology and social media, all that stuff is here to stay.
Like,
it's only going to advance more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to learn how to wield it appropriately.
Well, just because it's going to advance more doesn't mean we have to just keep going along with it.
Well, but that's the deceit. That's what I was going to say. I think people think because it's not going away, and no matter how many warnings they get, they're like, well, I mean, it's not going away, so what am I going to do by taking this device away from my kid or putting my device away? It's still going to be there. And guys, we're not telling you throw your iPhones in the trash and
our Samsung.
Like, heck no, those things are expensive. However, we are just trying to make you aware that these things need boundaries. Like we need boundaries. We as individuals need boundaries.
One more thing I got to speak on, obviously, because it's Covenant Keeper Marriage Podcast. One more statistic.
Yeah.
Facebook is now one of the main causes of divorces. One of the main causes of divorces. It used to be finances and money.
Yeah.
Now they're saying that actually social media and Facebook is one of those main causes.
I believe it.
Stealing of affection, stealing of time, feeling of connectedness and intimacy, right? Opening the door up to lure away from your spouse. There's so many different ways that can come into this. Again, if you don't recognize it as a threat, you're not going to set up things to protect yourself and your family from it, right? Be aware of what you are literally bringing into your home. Be aware of the threats that comes along with it. And again, guys, great tool, great resource. When you use it properly, yes, very beneficial for your family. You can literally run your business right from phone that's in your pocket. Think about that. You don't need an office. You don't need all these fancy computers and all that stuff anymore. Literally, your phone can do what you need to do. But with all that power comes great responsibility. And what you do with it will determine what your family will look like in the future. And that's the decisions you're making today.
For generations to come, not even just your current family, for generations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So a few quick things that we've done in our life to help protect us from this. Because we just don't want to give you, it's a bad deal, get rid of it. Stay away. That's not what it's about. It's about becoming aware and about protecting yourself from it. From us, when we say we put boundaries in place, we have certain time frames that we put in place as far as using social media and the devices. There's a time when it can start and there's a time when it has to go away. Shut off your notifications. Like you don't need all those notifications on at the same time because they are going to distract you. If you've constantly got a bell ringing, you got a light going off, you got something popping up on the screen. It's just human nature. You're going to get attracted to it. That's why they put it there.
Well,
they want you to pick it up.
Listen, I would go I'll go to the extreme and say do a fast. Do a fast from social media. Okay, can you imagine if all of us, the entire nation, decided, hey, let's everybody put the phones down and not engage in social media? Those folks would lose their mind because all of a sudden they're not making any money. Nobody's on there. I mean, I know that's a pipe dream, but hey, do a fast. See what happens in your family.
Hey, you can't go out and change the world, but if you're a parent, change it in your house.
Yeah.
Start like the lady did. I was all behind it. I think it's a great idea. When you're at the dinner table, all the devices away off the table. Put them in a drawer.
We do that already. So
Well, we do. That's what I'm saying. It's a great idea because I want to connect with my family.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got limited time with everyone. I know today is the only time that I have. I may not have tomorrow.
Right.
So when we have that time to connect, I don't want to be distracted. And I know if I have this laying out on the table, there's a chance I'm going to be distracted. I'm just being honest. I'm not naive. If I see something that pops up there that I think is going to be interesting, it's going to draw me in. So take that distraction away.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize where you need help. Recognize where your weaknesses are. Like Babe, you said, you're a little stronger than I am on some of this stuff.
Well, I don't really need social media myself. I don't have that addictive personality. I can look at it for a few minutes and then I get annoyed. Like ever since we watched the show, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay off of it for a couple minutes or I'm sorry, a couple days to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I saw the little nudges that they do, that they were talking about in the show. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there they are. They do that.
Yeah. Especially for marriages, guys. If you can, take the phone out of your room at night. Or if not, again, put them someplace where they're not going to be distracting. In your bedroom. I know we don't think about this a lot, or somebody's like, well, I don't know how I feel about that. Think about how it would be on the flip side if something's interfering with your relationship. If you guys are both laying in bed at night and you guys both got your face planted into the phones where you're not connecting with each other, it's already costing you too much.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that you're doing today that you will pay for tomorrow. I'm telling you.
Well, I think everybody just needs to go watch that show. They need to watch that documentary. I think it would be eye-opening for a lot of people, for them to watch it and hear it from the horse's mouth.
Well, yeah,
these
of course.
people were in it once upon a time to do something good.
Yeah.
And now it's turned to be something that's not good. And they want to talk to people and let people know about it. So.
Absolutely. So guys, go check it out. It's called The Social Dilemma. It is on Netflix. Watch it. Ask yourself, is this an issue for myself and my family? Be open to hear God speak to you if it is. He will show you if it is. And then be humble enough to say, you know what, God, I need help in this area. I need to do whatever it is you need me to do because I want to connect with my family. I want to connect with my spouse. I want to make generational changes here right now.
Well, we need help saving families.
Yes.
Guys, I know we're not Jesus.
Yes.
We're here to lead people to Jesus, but essentially that's what we're trying to do, is help people understand that the family is important. So help us by helping your family. Start right there. So guys, we love you. We hope this is going to be helpful. We'll see you next week. Stand for marriage. Stand for God. We're covenant keepers.